Howdy, it's Jim Morado, and this is August 2021. I'm in Alburgh, Vermont. I believe I pronounced that right. I'm sure if I didn't, someone will let me know. And we're at the Soldiers and Citizens Free Civil War Museum at New England Via Vermont. It's a little kind of gift shop, I guess. I guess in northwestern Vermont, you would say, on the kind of little chain of islands there that we ended up driving through. And this place was an unexpected and exciting for me stop. They have a little Civil War museum set up inside of this gift shop. And in fact, this is obviously a labor of love that they've just kind of put here. There's one room devoted to the Civil War, and then kind of a curiosities room, mostly of local items, and a different room. I'll put up a separate video about that. But there's a sweet little lady that was running the place. I talked to her for a while. In fact, I'll probably leave one of our conversations in this video just so you can hear her a little bit. But yeah, they've set up, it's a small room, but it's jam-packed with some incredible relics from the Civil War. You know, lots of displays, lots of things to read, but they had an impressive relic collection. This was a much nicer museum than I would have expected, to find in Vermont as far as the Civil War goes. They're doing a great job here, and it's a very I almost want to say informal museum. You know, she kind of just let me look around and see what they had. They're not watching over your shoulder or anything like that. But, they had a lot of, a lot of stuff that I have in my collection. Brochures from some of the Civil War battlefield national parks. But then they had a lot of nice little items that soldiers would have had on them during the battles. And they also had just some interesting relics, which I love seeing that kind of thing. They put cardboard over some of their displays, to protect them from light, which is a good idea. But then they encouraged you to move the cardboard if you'd like. So yeah, you can move the cardboard over and see what was in the case. And again, I thought this was a great idea because I see a lot of stuff at museums. Yeah, bookstores, museums. A lot of places will leave things right in direct sunlight. And a lot of this stuff you just really need to keep it away from light as much as possible. So they did a good job with that, and I thought that was pretty cool. Again, I mentioned that this is a little gift shop. They sell, the standard kind of gift shop things, and they have a little donation box if you want to make a donation to the museum. But I believe they give all their donations to the American Battlefield Trust Fund, maybe a couple of other Civil War related charitable type groups too. I also donate to the American Battlefield Trust. I like what they're doing. If you're unfamiliar with them, you should look it up. But they have a great magazine. I think it comes out quarterly. Yeah, they are doing a ton with the little bit they have to work with. Just wanted to mention them. I always like to mention them. But yeah, check out this stuff. I mean, there's a lot in this museum. There's a lot of, kind of modern Civil War collectibles. Actually, not a lot. I mean, they're definitely peppered through there. But there's some, interesting prints, old photos, lots of paper stuff. And I enjoyed looking at it. This was definitely the kind of place, if you had a big old chunk of time, you could really waste it here for sure. Yeah, but I mentioned it's in a gift shop. Obviously, if you stop by, you should drop some coin. And they're not just going over Vermont's role in the Civil War, even though right here we're kind of looking at some information on the St. Albans raid, which occurred not too far from here, maybe, I don't know, somewhere between half an hour and an hour, I'm not sure. We would end up driving through St. Albans after we left here, and we stopped by St. Albans on our previous trip to Vermont. If you're going to be in Vermont and you love the Civil War, you should stop at this museum and also stop in St. Albans, where the St. Albans raid went down. Of course, there's Lee surrendering to Grant. It's some stuff you've probably seen before if you've looked through Civil War books, been to Civil War museums, but still just a really nice display, well done, and a lot to take in. There's some reunion photos, more take the cardboard off and look at what's inside of the case displays. I like that a lot. And some first day covers, reunion books.
You can remove any of the cardboards too.
Yeah, I'm glad to see you guys doing that. That's a good way to.
Well, it's just to protect.
Yes, absolutely. I can't tell you how many times I'm in a museum and they've got some direct light coming onto something, and I'm like,
Yeah. Well, it's not very sophisticated. It's just something my daughter and I put together.
No, it's.
We've been working on it for about 10 years.
We're from Kentucky, and there's actually a pretty good amount of Civil War history up in this neck of the woods.
Well, the northernmost action was the St.
Albans
raid.
yes. Yeah.
And the Vermonters were the first to go, and Lincoln asked for volunteers. So I'll show you the way the room is set up.
Sure.
In the middle here is just medical, camp life, reenacting, preservation, things like that. I start with the children's case because of Thomas Jefferson's quote, he knew the slavery issue was going to divide our country. And then over here is the beginning, is Underground Railroad, Fire Eaters of the South, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And then the action starts at Fort Sumter over there on that wall. And then it rotates around the outside walls, sort of the way the war progressed. So you got 61 and 62 here, and it jumps to 63 over there. 64 is on the other end, and it jumps up 65, ends with the veterans, which you started.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so you have to look around. If you have any questions, you can come ask.
Sure appreciate that. Yeah, and I absolutely loved her accent and her passion for this, her explanation for the way things are displayed, and her logic behind it. You know, if I was going to set a room like this up, I would I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't be able to focus and do that. A couple things I wanted to point out that I like a lot. You know, I've mentioned before in other videos that I paint toy soldiers, mostly Civil War, and I love seeing the mannequins with the clothes on that are done up. Those are great references when I'm painting soldiers. So I took some pictures of that Union soldier you saw a moment ago, and I love seeing the old women's dresses from that era. I love the old postcards too, and you can still, if you look around, you can find, early 1900 postcards, from Civil War battlefields and that kind of thing, at reasonable prices. And just a ton to see here. I love, she's picked up just some kind of DIY, probably self-published pamphlet books. Little note there that's obviously not a Lincoln hat. I like that little model of Lincoln's Springfield home. That's cute. I do not own that, and I want to own that. So I think that's pretty neat. The hat is not original. It would be priceless if it were, but it does mention that in over at Hilden, which I'll put up another video about that, they actually do have an authentic Abraham Lincoln hat. And I believe it's one of only 2 that we know are authentic that exist. And I think that's great. And yeah, just various odd items here and there. I love these great prints. They're just always fun to look at. Nice statues. Yeah, but the St. Albans raid, I would end up talking to the lady that runs this shop a little bit more about the St. Albans raid, because there are a lot of Kentucky connections to the St. Albans raid, and I've mentioned it before on my blog and in other videos in a very, very basic, small nutshell. You had some Confederates go up to Canada. They basically run down south into the town of St. Albans. They rob 3 banks, end up killing 1 person, and then they run back up into Canada, all in the name of the Confederacy. And it's considered it's considered by some to be the northernmost action of the Civil War. Some might consider it, some people robbing banks and trying to justify it in the name of the Confederacy. But it looks like it was pretty legit. And a fella named Bennett Young led that raid, and he is, a Kentuckian. He's actually buried in Louisville, and I actually hope to go and visit his gravesite soon. He was big in the railroad business after the Civil War, and had quite a life afterwards. I'm sorry, some more fun stuff in those cases. Yeah, he had quite a life afterwards, and there is a trestle that if you go to the Railroad Museum in Versailles, Kentucky, and you take their ride, they actually ride you out to the trestle, and you get to look at it. And I believe it's actually named after Bennett Young. And we actually just recently did that. I'll probably put a video up about that here real soon. A Civil War era glass eye. How cool is that? That is a pretty unique piece for a collection. And this is, I think this is the lady running the place. I think it's her and her daughter set this up. Obviously I think it's kind of their own little kind of private collection they had going that mushroomed into something really special. And now it's on display. And this rivals some museums I've seen set up in places for sure. But I really enjoyed this. And again, I ended up talking to the lady after I went through the museum, and she had just a nice little gift shop. There's something I have. I do have a piece of the Willis House brick. They used to sell those in Gettysburg, I think, after they did some restoration. That's just a cool thing to have. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted as I'm looking over the museum again. I love ephemera as you're out. When you go to the national parks and stuff, they usually, they sell postcards, they have free brochures. I love picking all that stuff up and putting it in an album. It's just something nice to have. And some more neat relics, especially relating to the I think those are some Civil War reunion items, but I love the St. Albans raid stuff for sure. And I've mentioned before, there are some good books on the St. Albans raid. There's the St. Albans Raiders, an investigation into the identities of the Confederate soldiers who attacked St. Albans, Vermont on October 19th, 1864. Let me catch my breath. By Daniel Rush and E. Gale Pewitt. And then I also recently picked up the St. Albans Raid, Confederate Attack on Vermont by Michelle Sherburne. Both really well done books on the St. Albans Raid. And it gets more complicated. There's more to it than just the Confederates coming down from Canada and robbing the town. In fact, Sherburne kind of gets into some links between the Raiders. It's a little bit of a stretch, but it's very logical, between the Raiders and the Lincoln assassination conspirators, because there was a lot of Confederate activity going on up in Canada. I want to read up more on that too. If you know much about that, let me know. Kind of an interesting little niche in Civil War history that's kind of overlooked. But yeah, just wanted to quickly put this little video up. about the Soldiers and Citizens Free Civil War Museum, Alburgh, Vermont. And again, a great gift shop. There's a nice visitor center not too far from here also. Not far from the Canadian border. This is a great area to stop at. There was also a really nice kind of gift shop visitor center when we went onto the little set of islands here in Vermont. And Vermont's such a great state for just driving around. And the little chain of islands that we were on was spectacular. And we hope to make it back there soon. But we found this little hidden gem up there. And you should make it up there and check it out yourself.